Well. Hello. Welcome in. Thank you for redeeming First Human. Don't know if you're back from some tea, but good to have you here. We are gonna make some video games this week. It always feels weird returning to streaming after taking a week off, but I was traveling last week and had a flight during my stream, so what can you do? But this should be a fun stream. We've got a lot to do, a lot of fun stuff. We started on a tutorial area yesterday, so we're going to be filling that out. Need some playtesting, so we might have to play the game a little bit. And we'll probably decorate the world. We're getting real close to like finishing out that game loop for what we want to have done for the demo. So, yeah, we'll get into it in a minute. I could stream on my flight. Maybe next time. I tried tuning into somebody's stream on a train last time, and I feel like train Wi-Fi is even better than plane Wi-Fi. And even that, I was struggling to even watch a stream, let alone broadcast a stream. But maybe next time we'll try. It'll be a fun experience, I guess. Let's go ahead and let's go on over here. We've got ourselves a big ol' world. Y'all have seen the spiel for what this game is so far. If you haven't, hit me up with a little WTF in the chat, and I'll explain stuff. But yeah, we have an alchemist. Point of the game is you can combine any two items in the game and create new items, which creates new item data. We've got a lot of cool systems for like all the tools that you create you can use on any object in the game, and that'll also generate new game data of like, oh, you make a icy pickaxe, you use it on a rock, what do you get? You might get a frosty rock or something. So all that's generated on the fly. It's pretty overwhelming when you first just drop into the world and you're like, I can do anything. So we've got some semblance of a like guidance system and short-term, long-term goals by giving NPCs quests that you can talk to them. They will talk to you about problems that they're having. It's up to you as a player to kind of figure out a solution and go figure out what you want to craft to solve that problem. That's kind of how we direct players to do this alchemy system. However, even before that, we want to introduce them to all these systems in a really simple, easy to understand area. So we've crafted ourselves a little very, very bland, very basic area with just some rocks, some trees, a couple unique things like a mossy rock, and it has a rune stone right now, which is what we'll use later for teleporting around the world, but it's something interesting. But this area will introduce players to like click to move, space to jump, click to harvest things, right click harvest, alchemy by combining items in your inventory, talking to NPCs, getting quests, completing quests, lots of stuff to be done to just kind of like introduce the player to all of these aspects. The one big system that we have in the game that we don't require the player to interact with to get through this tutorial area quite yet is our workstations. So we, in addition to alchemy where you can just combine some items and get new items, there's also workstations where you can put items in and things happen to them and it'll generate new items as well. But like the anvil, you can put in a block of ice and say, I want to turn this into a helmet, and you'll get an ice helmet. You can't really do that the same like process through just alchemy, because you'd need like maybe a helmet mold or something to combine with your block of ice. So we've got a bunch of different workstations for different ways to interact with the world, but we're going to skip over those in the tutorial area. So we'll just rely on alchemy. We built a system last night where we can hard code in a starting quest for NPCs. So we've given this guard a quest saying, hey, can you get me any tool at all? Just go collect stuff, make a tool, give me a tool, and that will help me open this gate for you. And that's how they're going to get into the town in the first place. So they arrive at this town. This guy has a problem. He gives them a quest. They go out and collect items. They craft an item. They give it to the NPC. That's the full loop. So it's a very, very pared down, simple quest, but it'll introduce them to everything. So what we're going to do is probably start with some playtesting, I guess, just see how hard it is to make a tool right off the get-go. We'll jump in and do that. Why not? Are you planning to do AI-generated voices too? I think so, yeah. Right now we are using our own API, so we've kind of built in our own infrastructure for both generating text and generating images. For anybody maybe watching this video later, I'll link that in the chat. Yeah, obviously we want to add a lot more to that, so we are still planning on doing AI generated voices for all the NPCs. The big struggle with that right now is keeping them consistent and cohesive, because as you talk to the same NPC multiple times, we want to make sure that they sound the same every time. We can kind of get that through, like, they've got a pretty cohesive speaking style, so all the dialogue that they generate uses the same like speaking patterns and jargon and stuff, but even with all that, we need to make sure that the voice actually sounds the same, so it's a little bit jarring with the current tech there. And the other big generation thing that we will end up doing is 3D model generation as well. And that'll probably be used mostly for when you can create your own workstations. So if you like invent an anvil, we want to be able to like place an anvil in the world and you work on it. But also things like farming, where maybe you get some seeds in your inventory and you use them on the ground. We're going to need to generate like a little sapling based on what kind of seeds it is, and then probably different life stages for that plant until it's fully grown. Planning on doing all that with a model generation as well. So that's going to be really, really cool. I'm very excited for farming in this game. All the cozy stuff, farming, fishing maybe. But need a little bit more tech behind it before we get into those. Let's see here. I also want to enjoy some of this music we are listening to. What is this? This is not what I queued up at all. This is a Final Fantasy song. Okay. I queued up an orchestral selection of Chrono Trigger, but maybe Spotify knows best. Oh, right. And I want to make sure this is not ruining my Spotify history. So let's go ahead and let's go back to the good stuff. Yeah, I guess it didn't sound like Final Fantasy at all. It said it was Final Fantasy 6. Which I kind of believe if it was like remastered maybe. But this is the good stuff I was waiting for. 6, actually, if you haven't played, is probably the best, objectively. Not just my favorite, but like the correct answer. The best Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy 6, also known as Final Fantasy 3 in the US. Weird naming things. Final Fantasy 2 was released in the US as Final Fantasy 4, and then Final Fantasy 3 was released in the US as Final Fantasy 6. Final Fantasy 6 has the best villain, the best characters. It's got a lot of very cool like team building composition stuff where you need to like level up all of your characters because they each go on different usually interacting quests. Like there's a point where you fall into a cave and you need to break up into 3 different groups to fight off 3 different like incoming waves of monsters, and you have to interact, and so you need to have all 12 of your characters all leveled up and strategize who goes where and with who. It's a very, very cool system. So and then also Final Fantasy 6 has some of the best like big twists towards the end. So would recommend. Which Final Fantasy are you talking about? Which is objectively the best? Let me just hit you with Final Fantasy VI. You're looking for these characters. And, you know, those aren't too bad. Final Fantasy IV on the Switch is a pretty weird looking remaster, I would say. They did this 3D thing. But 6 has the good sprite art, very good combat system, very good like skills and professions. Would recommend. Check it out. You can also play it on your phone. Let's see here. For the SNES, yes. It originally came out SNES. I think they also did remasters and re-released it on PlayStation 1 and the Switch. So it's probably really good on the Switch. But yeah, jumping into our world, I'm going to pretend that we have an empty inventory here. And we'll have a few like more tutorial dialogues explaining how to like move around and interact with stuff for the player. But generally we want the player to follow this very railroaded road. We'll also paint in grass maybe in a minute. And eventually they're going to reach this wall to the city. They are not going to be able to get into the city because gate is closed. So they're going to end up talking to this guy who will give them a nice quest. Right. We have a small bug there. We'll fix that another time. He's basically just going to say, welcome on in. Sorry, but earthquake blocked the gate. I can't open it right now, but if you could get me any tool at all, just any tool, then he can probably get it open and we'll be let into the town. So what we're going to do as a player here is we're going to just clear some space here. We're going to go harvesting and we're going to see how hard it is to just craft a tool right off the bat. Because it might be hard and we might need to start hard coding in some like specific recipes for what happens when you use your hands on a pine tree or what happens when you use this on that. We want to make it doable, but I don't mind making it a little bit hard as like a challenge because it's a very obvious challenge of what you need to do. So we got pine needles. We'll go around and collect a little bit of everything. And while we're here, I'm also tempted to add another skill called research, which I feel like would be nice to get some XP drops in, like when you first research what you get with your hands on stuff or tools on stuff. A lot of people we've talked to have said that they would love to play this in like an MMO style or at least just like online multiplayer. And I think if we were to go down that route, we'd be able to reuse a lot of these recipes across everybody. Like the first person to use their hands on a bush generates the recipe for everyone. I think it'd be really cool to have a skill of research where those people that discover all those things are leveling that up. And so it's kind of a coveted skill to have. But it's an idea. Oh, we need to bake some nav meshes. Whoops. $18 on Steam for Final Fantasy VI. That's crazy. This game is probably as old as I am. Wow. You know, maybe grab it if it goes on sale sometime. It's definitely a great game, but unless you know that you love the old like pixel-based, turn-based Final Fantasy games where like usually they didn't have a lot of really good plot, but I'd say this one does, but it's definitely a style, and so see if you like it first. All right, so we've got some items. We don't really have like, we do have branches. So if we were to start combining some stuff like a branch and stone, see if we can just get like some sort of makeshift tool. Maybe we can try a branch and a pebble. I think this is a good amount of items to like give the player during a tutorial, like 6 or 7 or so, that they can just try different combinations in. And once we kind of hammer down what we want these starting items to be, we can actually hard code in all those recipes from the start, so they don't need to wait to research these objects. They don't need to wait for alchemy, which apparently crashed. Let's open that up. Okay, we'll jump into that later, but let me first make it a little easier to debug next time it happens. All right, so we can just close the inventory and reopen it. We probably want to cancel the alchemy for the player. When we get an error like that, we'll throw it in here. Wait, what? Oh, right. Alright, so we got a stone hatchet listed as equipment for some reason. Let's go ahead and maybe reinforce it with some pine needles or something. I feel like as a player it might be a little bit frustrating to get that stone hatchet and be like, that is a tool. But we did end up getting a pine hatchet. So that's a tool. If we wanted, we could go ahead and run around and use that on things and get a few more objects while we're here. I also, since the last time we were on stream, I added some better UI around the XP drops that we get. So now you're going to see the icon of the skill that you're getting XP in. You're going to get a little progress indicator of how close you are to leveling up. And when you go ahead and level up, we'll get a nice pop-up over here. We'll get animations on the player. We get a little notify pip here that you have stats to spend. Still kind of hand wavy on a lot of this, like how we want it to be, but I just want to give the concept of like growth for the demo. So that's kind of what we're doing there. But we might change, like skill trees and stat trees and stuff are pretty hot right now, so we'll see. All right, so if we head back to Gareth, he has summarized our previous conversation. He's looking for a tool to unjam the gate. He generates new dialogue based on what the previous conversation was and like where in the quest state you are. So he's again asking for a tool, and we need to go ahead and just give him the tool that we've crafted. And maybe what we'll do before I say, we got the gate animating open, so that's nice. But maybe we'll start on some animations here of like when you give them the item, nothing really happens in the UI while they're thinking. Maybe we need some animations there, but we can start there. But we've completed this quest. We probably also want some sort of like UI for quest completed, yay, and some sort of reward there. But we are now free to enter the city. So that wasn't actually too hard at all. And there's a slight bug in the navigation. I need to figure out how to remove nav mesh obstacles on the fly without rebaking the nav mesh, but there is still the wall there. So we'll fix that. But now we're in the city. We theoretically have a bunch of items we could go and like sell to NPCs. The player at this point knows like the general flow of, oh, I see an NPC, I go talk to an NPC, I learn about their problem, I can go out and collect items, craft items, give that item to that NPC to solve their quest or not. So this guy's got a pretty wild quest. And so we'll probably maybe start off with some hard-coded quests on some of these NPCs as well. I haven't decided yet, but it might be a nice way to kind of ease the player in. You need to rebake the entire nav mesh when you remove a nav mesh obstacle. So I thought you didn't, and so that's why we have this bug here. But I can't figure out why that we seemingly need to. But if I go here, I visualize the nav mesh, and let's see, where's our door? I mean, this might be there's plenty of like small bugs like this that we need to fix in the tutorial area. So I think that's going to be our main focus today, is just like polishing up all this stuff, because even as I play, I am like, oh yeah, the alchemy crashed, so I need to close the inventory and reopen it in order to do it again. Like, players don't know that they need to do that. So all those little things, and like jumping through the gate to get through because there's an obstacle in the way, those are the things that we gotta sort out. But let me see if I can visualize this. I've deleted the object, so that's why I can't go re-enable it, but let's see what we can do. How long does that rebaking need? I think if you do that right when the gate opens, it should be finished by the time the player gets there. Yeah, I feel like it probably depends a lot on the player's computer, like how fast the rebaking needs. It'd be nice if it could rebake in just a specific area, but I mean, it is a pretty big world to bake, so it could take a long time. Like on my computer, it takes more seconds than it takes to open the gate. But let's bake this real fast. I wonder if I disable this and then bake the nav mesh, we'll get our path through, and then maybe I can enable the object as an obstacle. Ooh, that's a really tight path. I wonder if it's just not calculating correctly. Hey, Tony, welcome on in. How's it going over there? We are showing off our new tutorial road. We are doing a little play testing. It didn't take too long to get a tool to give to this guard. But should be a fun little tutorial area, I think. So I wonder why the geometry of this path is so wonky. Maybe I can flatten the terrain a little bit. So let's kind of flatten it out like this. And now you guys get to see how long it takes to bake a nav mesh. Like, it doesn't take super long, but I would feel bad if like a player's computer took too long there. All right, so we widened it a little bit. I feel like maybe we want to exclude this and the other one from being a nav mesh obstacle. So we want a nav mesh modifier, I believe. Remove object, right? Is that right? I think. Let's just bake this real fast and see if it widens on the left. Okay, so we can do that. So technically you'll be able to walk through these, but I feel like that might be fine. So let's remove this guy from the nav mesh as well. Rebake. And I'm mostly just testing to see if, like, when we recalculate that nav mesh, maybe the path was too small and it didn't recalculate correctly. So now we can turn this guy back on, which has a nav mesh obstacle, and we carve out the nav mesh. So if we bake with this, we will see that this path gets broken so the player can't walk through. And then what I'm gonna do is go edit the script to just disable it rather than destroy it. So we can at least like inspect stuff during gameplay. But let's just disable that real fast. All this gate does is actually listen for how many quests you've completed for a specific persona. And then once you've completed at least one quest for the guard out front, it opens on up. So that's kind of a little hack there. But let's go see if this works. Also, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's fun to have some friends while coding. We're working on some fun stuff. After we get this working, maybe we can either fly around town and get some of your input on like what quests you might want some NPCs to start with. Or maybe we can just do some like world decorating, paint some grass in, make things look nice. Let's go ahead and talk to this guy. We do start with a tool in our inventory with our debug stuff, so we can go ahead and just give that to him. So we don't have a path through there. I don't really need to test that. Let's give him an axe real fast. Gate opens up. I wonder if we can be visualizing the nav mesh here. And then when it reaches the top, it's going to disable this at some point. Where's it at? Oh, right. Wait a second. Oh, it just disables the nav mesh obstacle. Okay. So interestingly, we still don't have a path through. So I don't know if I need to like manually rebake. I just assumed removing the nav mesh obstacle would allow the player through, but let's verify that. Disable obstacles at runtime. Exactly what we want. It's not static. Yeah, it feels like if you disable the nav mesh obstacle, you should be able to just walk through. Nobody's ever talking about like doing something extra. Use a carving obstacle. Sure. We're doing that. Carve only stationary. Wonder if carving has something to do with why it's not removing. Let's see what carving is. Makes a cutout in the nav mesh, cuts out a hole. Yep, that's what we want. When the obstacle moves, the carved hole also moves. But the hole is only recalculated when necessary. Carve when stationary, carve when moved. Carve only stationary. I think we're onto something. Carve when stationary is used when it's set to true. The obstacle is treated as moving when it's moved more than the distance set by this. And we're moving it straight up, so I wonder if we're not hitting that threshold. Let's see. Carbon moved. Sure. Move straight up. Anything in there? Welcome to the debug stream. I'll spend just a couple minutes on this, and if we don't figure it out, we'll do some other stuff that is less googly. So I feel like it's not recalculating and like removing that carving. Okay, so let's do this. Let's re-enable this. It should be updating in real time. Let's bring it back down here, and I want to move it around, see if we can get the carve to recalculate maybe. Don't think so. Oh no. Oh no. All right. And just in time for the boss music. Human Redeemed do a game jam. I'm wondering if that might be a little too cheap of a redeem, but I would love to do a game jam, and I will do brackies in February. That'll be fun. Let me just make sure I don't need to be using Godot for this. This was last year's. $2025 starts in 2 months. What if I am new to game dev, though? All right, teams are allowed. Tony, if you're in the chat, I think you've just been conscripted. Maybe you too, Human. You did this. We'll see. Yeah, I think that would be super fun. Sounds like we're doing a game jam soon. Thanks for redeeming that, Human. All right, so I think this is not actually doing what I think it's doing. So we are going to not worry about that right now. You have a teammate already. You're participating too. All right, so we now have an arch nemesis then. So that'll work great. We'll be making the shadow version of your game. I assume he hasn't talked at all about themes and stuff yet. But do you know anything at all about what the theme or anything will be? I'm very interested. I've been meaning to do a game jam for the last couple months, but we've just been so busy. Now we have an excuse, so that's perfect. Nothing has been revealed yet. All right. Just the announcement dropped. Okay. All right, Human. Since you're the NavMesh agent here, NavMesh expert here, do you know why I get all these holes? These weird, like, tiny holes? I assume it's just because, I mean, the geometry of the ground. But I don't know what, why, or, like, what I even changed to do that. But I see them everywhere. I've noticed them forever. Yeah, you're the expert in all Unity. Don't mind me. You know this. So I think what we're actually going to do, just to avoid this being an issue for now, let's bake without the obstacle there. And then we'll put it back in. And we'll just... We posted a video on the Discord the other day of the hack to get around this. You can just swing your camera around and click on the other side to walk through. But at least this blocks like raycast movement and stuff, so that'll be fine for now. You know, that's kind of a cool look. Let's see here. Cool. NavMeshes never look perfect, really. Well, maybe on a flat plane, but never on a terrain. I feel like terrains are things that always sound so nice, and then once I start using them, there's always something wonky that I'm like, why am I using this? Is there nothing better? But you need that 3D ground, I guess. And they're pretty nice to paint on, but there's also a lot of gotchas for like various problems. And like, I wish terrains could be multi-layered instead of having to paint holes and do other terrains on top of them. And I'm just surprised that terrains have not changed since, like, probably when Unity started. Haven't changed much. Let's go ahead and let's paint in maybe some grass here. Speaking of terrains. We want to find all of our grass. I feel like these guys should be able to just drag in, right? Is that right? And then we make a new brush. And I think that will just paint them on. No. I forget how to use this tool. It's been so long. But it's so much nicer than just painting grass on individually. Place tool. Because if we do something like this, right, we need... Don't remember how to do anything, apparently. Okay, so we've got... This is just going to paint on ground layer. Surely. Paint on layers. Ground. Let's do all of them. Paint on ground. And then... Yeah, I don't really want to paint one at a time. Can't click and drag. Brush tool, that's what we want. Not place tool. Alright, so this now, yeah, so we can click and drag. Cool. Now if we select them all, can't do that, but we can make this a multi-brush and add multiple grass this way. So it'll randomly select which one it uses. Let's just bring in some. And we'll just ignore all these. They can be deleted, I guess. So now we pick one at random. We don't need a pattern. Let's randomize just a little bit of like sizes. And we want up to be probably y-axis rather than being normal to the ground. And paint on layers ground. Alright, this should be good. So now we can paint grass. Where's our brush size? Like 4-ish. And what is... Oh, okay, big grass group. Always curious how they organize things. Oh no, we're painting on things. Even though the layer is ground? Is this guy a ground layer thing? Yes. Okay. Let's go ahead and undo that paint. Let's get this guy not ground layer. And we'll double check. Oh, I bet these guys are ground layer just so we can stand on them, but that's fine. We can work with that. All right, let's just paint somewhere. And I like having this view down here so we can kind of see how things look from start position too. Can do some more dense areas. And then maybe after we paint this, we'll go back in and just try once more to craft another tool. Because we're going to want to kind of finalize what we want the starting recipes to be for all these starting interactions. So we'll just do that. I feel like we need to ignore air. We've got a volume around the city to control our lighting when we enter. So it's just catching on that. All right, things are looking a lot better, I would say. Did I miss a spot? All right, I think that's good. Let's go in, let's play again. Let's see how hard it is to get a tool just as a second round. Didn't take too long before, but we want to make sure that we don't get players just stuck. And it's also fun. Alright, so now we can harvest like this tall grass. We can harvest from regular grass. We're going to get probably different items. I'm also experimenting with a different image model here. So you'll notice like the images that we're generating with right now are a little bit different from the previous model. They're a little bit more like realistic photo style. I think I'll go back to this sort of style, but we need to figure out how we want to stylize things, and then we'll finalize what model we want to go with. But some of them are pretty interesting on this new model. I think they look kind of nice. So we're just going to go through and keep collecting a little bit of everything. So we've got these different materials that we can craft a tool from. And then, I mean, we know the quest, so we can kind of speed run it a little bit by grabbing the materials first. Oak branch is usually what I think we'll use to combine with like a stone to make our tool of handle and top. So let's grab some stone off this boulder, or maybe off one of the stones over there. Yeah, maybe the pebble is not so great. But if we do an oak branch and whatever we get from this stone, we'll probably get a tool. That was a little weird. All right, small stone, oak branch, tool. Maybe we'll crash the alchemy. Sure, taking a long time. Okay, we got a stone club. Not quite. Let's, I guess, try with the pebble, see what we get there. And we did make a stone club, so we could like use that on objects as well for even more things. Oops. Right, I know that bug. We have this system, we call it fall harvest, where if you press spacebar at the right time, you jump the bar forward, it spawns a little item that falls down the screen, and it's based on the item's weight. So the item that generates like heavy items will fall faster, lighter items fall slower, and if it generates with a weight of 0, it just stays at the top of the screen because there's no gravity there. So we did get a primitive hammer, so we have a tool. We can go ahead and talk to this lad over here, give him our tool, and we basically have this full row of items at the start that we're entering town with. So very basic supplies. I think that's a good like baseline for where we want the player to start. We don't want them necessarily to walk into town with a ton of stuff. I missed the gate opening, but we can at least walk through. So All right, so things look good. What we want to do next, we could fix this bug real fast. We're just going to clamp the weight on fall harvest objects to like 0.1 if it's at 0 or something. But you'll notice when we give an object to this guy, it doesn't, well, first of all, it doesn't finish the quest when we do that. We need to come back to that. But when you give an object to him, he just stands there for a minute and waits. There's no like feedback until he's done thinking. I think what we should do is add some sort of like indicator for you gave them an item. So let's do that real fast. I think it should be pretty quick. We can go over to that NPC, generic interactable NPC. That is gonna open up the NPC window manager, and that can receive items through an interface we built. Receive item stack, yeah. So we're just going to receive one item. We should double check that it's not receiving the whole stack though. But it's just going to submit that item. What we want to do here is a lot of these to-dos, I guess. Let's say we're going to skip on sound effects. I need to build up a big ol' like repertoire of sound effects we want to use throughout the game. So I'm going to do all the sound together. But the loading indicator is probably what we want to do here. So let's open up that NPC dialog and see what we want things to look like. So we've got our new NPC window. So in the window, what we could do is just add a system message, which would be immediate feedback in like gray. So we can do something like that and say, add a system message that detailing that the player gave the NPC an item. So that, I forget, that'll do. So that way the player can see like immediate feedback of I gave them an apple. They know that that apple has gone. Let's go ahead and also add that to the NPC's inventory. Since that's a to-do item while we're here, that's just going to be persona dot or shown persona dot inventory dot add item one of what was given. So now when you give them that quest item, you can actually go like to the buy and sell menu. You'll see that they have that quest item in their inventory. We probably want to do a little bit of a smarter thing there of like, if it's a consumable, we want them to consume it. So it won't be in their inventory, but everything else will be. So maybe we can actually, let's say if item details item type is equal to a consumable, then we'll do some stuff. Otherwise, we'll just add it to their inventory. And I think we can just use the same interfaces we have for how players consume items to go ahead and apply those effects to the NPC as well. So we'll be able to see that. We start with like a growth potion in our debug mode, so we could give that to an NPC and they would drink it and we'd see them get bigger, so that'd be fun. Let's go ahead and try and remember how we do that. So that's gonna be what's the flow there? Like if the player were to consume an item, it's going to be in RS player controller keycode.q. It's for drinking a potion instead of using it on something else. We get the item. For each of the effects, we apply it manually to the player, and then we consume it. So what we can do instead is just apply these effects to the NPC and then not add it to their inventory. As if they consumed it. So that'd be a nice like visual feedback that if you were to solve an NPC's quest by giving them some sort of potion and it has some visual effects, you can actually see those when he drinks it. So that would be cool. And we'll also throw in a little to-do here of play, drinking, eating, animation. Animations and sound effects are like two big like VFX things that we're holding off on until we finalize the models a little bit more and figure out how we want to get all those resources. But we're planning on having all of them also have animations for like drinking a potion or something. So if you give them a potion, you'll see them drink it. If you give them anything else, you'll see them like stuff something in their pocket. I guess we can say to do play put item in pocket animation. So here we can just say item details.effects to NPC. What's this NPC's name? Shown persona name. Cool. So for each effect, we apply it through the item effect applier service, which handles like how long it affects them, unapplies it later, etc., etc. We don't need to create any buff UI because that's just for the player. So this is nice and simple now, and we can just make it a little easier to read. And let's go ahead and just clean it up anyway. Cool. So the other piece that we could do is if we have some sort of like thinking indicator on the NPC window that we want to make reusable, that other things could like activate and deactivate. Like this is a process where it tells the NPC, hey, you're going to be thinking for a second while we process this. So show that little indicator and then it can disable it when it's done. Let's see if we can get anything that like looks nice here, because we can do some things, but if we have maybe a little like thinking bubble here might be cool to just like flicker on and off while they're thinking. It's a pretty obvious like intuitive way to communicate what's going on. So let's see if we can do something pretty quick. Say thinking indicator. Do we have like a speech bubble? Anything at all? Thinking. Scroll on through. Let's zoom this in a little bit. Not that one, but no. I mean, this almost looks like a brain. We'll just use that for now, and I'll replace the image later. So if we take this guy, put it like up in the corner, and then, I mean, we can mask out the circle and all that to make it look a little nicer, but I'm going to replace the image later anyway. So this is a fine little indicator for now to just show the player like, hey, he's thinking right now. So what we can do is now we can build in a reference to that, add a quick little interface for like show thinking indicator, hide thinking indicator, and we probably want that to actually be like a stack so multiple things can show the thinking indicator, and then you don't run into that situation where like one thing shows it, another thing shows it, and then that first thing finishes and stops showing it. So you want that to keep showing until both things are done thinking. So you usually do that with like a stack or a counter of like increment by 1, and then only hide it when it's down to 0. So let's just build this little thinking indicator interface. We'll say public game object thinking indicator. And we will say private int thinking indicator show count, stack size, show stack. Terrible name, but it'll do for now. Thinking indicator show stack. So whenever something wants to show that indicator, it'll turn it on and increment that by 1. And then whenever something wants to say that they're done, they'll decrement it by 1 and only hide it if it's back to 0. So let's build those real fast. Throw them way down here. Public void show thinking indicator. So that's going to be thinking indicator show stack plus plus and thinking indicator dot set active true. And then we'll also have public void finish thinking indicator, or complete thinking indicator. Like, it's a balance to meet between the best names, just sitting and thinking of names, versus doing a lot of stuff on stream. I'm going to err on doing more stuff on stream this week because we're taking a break after this stream for about 3 weeks. I might do some bonus streams on either end just to fill things out, but Tuesday to Tuesday is when I'm taking that break. So it ends up being 3 weeks, and there's a lot of stuff that I want to be doing behind the scenes, so we can do renaming. Yeah, 3 weeks. It's actually only I'm going on a 2-week break to see family and do stuff like that, but I'm actually leaving on Tuesday and coming back on Tuesday the week after, so it means 3 weeks of streams. But I'll be around. But yeah, just visiting family, visiting like my parents and my partner's parents, and lots of fun stuff. So now we're gonna do thinking indicator show stack minus minus, and then we just say if it's less than or equal to 0, set it to 0, and then only then turn it off. Cool. So here, now we can say submit item for request. We will, let's walk back up the chain a little bit. Make sure there's nothing that we wait to process before then. I don't think so. So now before our LLM prompt that we run, we can say enable the thinking indicator. And then here, when we get a response back, we can go ahead and either disable it here, or what we probably should do is wait until this coroutine is also done. So we'll say complete thinking indicator, finish thinking indicator. We probably, I'm just now realizing, need to redraw the conversation whenever we are adding this message up here. Okay, okay. We don't necessarily need to do some of this. I'm just going to clean up a little bit. Sound effects. Loading indicator is done. But yeah, sorry about 3 weeks. I enjoy streaming, but you know, holiday time, you gotta take some time and relax. I'll be around on Discord and working though. Cool. So we've got our indicators here. We probably will get into like completing the quest on stream today, but I'm gonna hold off on that because we want to go in and test this. I think it should work. Let's go ahead and get our thinking indicator linked up. Let's move our NPC or our player up to the NPC so we don't necessarily need to make that long run every time. Where are we at here? And then let's turn our thinking indicator off by default. And I think we're good to go. All right, turn the window off also. All right, let's test this. Alrighty, so now, if we go talk to this guy, first of all, if we give him a growth potion, we should see a gray message immediately saying we gave him a growth potion, and then we should see he gets larger, and then we should also see this thinking icon here, and then after a brief moment, we should see another gray message of like whether or not this solved his quest. It probably won't. We should see the thinking indicator go away. And I think that's everything we did. But let's give him this growth potion. Oh, well, something grew. Alright. Right, we're applying it to the window, not the NPC. Okay, okay, sure. Let's go ahead and... Okay, well, at least we know that the effect applier service unapplied that effect after 15 seconds. That seemed like a quick 15 seconds. But if we were to give him a shrink potion, I want to see this thinking indicator too. Okay, it is on. It's absolutely wild to apply consumables to like UI windows. But I suppose we could do that, technically. Interesting. Okay. Well, I think everything worked. Growth potion technically solved his quest as well, though. So that's odd. But he explained that he used it to get big and lift the gate. So in that sense, I guess it is a tool. So let's fix this real fast so the item effects apply to the NPC and not to the UI window. Game object, right. So we need a reference to the shown NPC's game object. That's what we need to use. Shown NPC game object. Cool. Alright, we'll test that real fast. I want to see him get bigger. Alright, let's see this. Alright. I'm also realizing, is it not opening our inventory when we talk to him? Or am I just... Okay, it's not. I wonder if we unchecked a box. Let's see. Let's give him a growth potion. Surely he will get... Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And actually, that is also a good test to make sure that it's only consuming one of the item that we're giving him. So if we were to also give him shrink potion, maybe when he gets back down to normal size. We have a stack size of 3 here. I want to make sure that... Okay, it's 2. He didn't get smaller, though, I don't think. Oh, that was a harvester potion. Alright. Shrink potion. He's so tiny. Oh. Alright, so growth potion did solve, so that's nice. Alright, so it works. Cool, cool, cool. Let's double check why it's not also opening your inventory when you talk to him. I guess it doesn't necessarily need to. Because you're not always going to be just giving items to people. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, cool. So that works. We can give him items. We can solve the quest. I think things that we could do from here are give some of the NPCs in town some default quests like this. We should also be attached here. I would love to go in and do a bunch of alchemy and see if we can trigger the JSON parsing error that we're getting. Because we need to figure that out. But sure seems like every time I attach, my Unity window freezes. So, well, everybody should take a little drink, get hydrated. We're gonna wait just a second for this to come back. While we wait, I normally do a Minecraft stream on Wednesdays. I've been doing it for the past like 10 weeks or so. But we actually just finished our series that we were doing, my wife and her siblings and I, a couple weeks ago. And so this week, I'm thinking about playing a different game. I was wondering if anybody had any recommendations of something that might be fun. I've been eyeing Traveler's Rest to see if maybe that'd be a fun game to play. And also Oxygen Not Included. I played a little bit of the free weekend. Seems pretty hard. It definitely gives me like RimWorld vibes, so I'm not sure it'd be the most fun to watch on stream. But I could also do like Baldur's Gate. I could do some Chrono Trigger. I could do some Final Fantasy VI for you, human. Lots of games that I love playing, and I have a free week, so gonna play something tomorrow, but I was gonna see if anybody had any recommendations. Alright, we are attached now, so I think things are looking good. I think one thing that we will add just to kind of reward players who want to explore this tutorial area a little bit more. Let's add a couple more like objects that they can interact with. So we've got herbs. Yeah, so we've got like different flowers that we can throw in just as like ways to get a few more items. I think it's always fun in games when a player goes out of their way to explore more of an area and there happens to be some sort of like reward hidden away back there. So if we were to just throw some like holy mint petals over in this corner, or let's do some lavendream in this field. Or maybe let's do it over in that like dense grassy area. Am I searching specifically for a multiplayer game? Not really. I'm searching specifically for something that would be fun for just like 3 or 4 hours, jump into on stream, and then probably play more on my own. But the problem with a lot of the games that I normally play is I don't want to start a series of them because I want to just like keep playing them off stream and I don't want to not be able to play them. So just something like kind of standalone that maybe would be fun for a little bit. All right, we got a couple flowers. Maybe we'll do just a little bit more. Something over here. What's this? Solar blossom. Sure. Just some extra stuff in the tutorial area for people to collect if they want. Maybe even something over here. Cool. So I mean, we had a lot more visual feedback whenever we gave this guy an item now. So I wonder if there's more that we need to do, but it definitely felt very like, oh, you give him an item and nothing happens before. Let's go give him a tool real fast and just see how obvious it is that he's thinking for a second. There might be more we want to do there, but it might be just fine now that we've added a little bit of text feedback. And then can really do whatever we want, I guess. Maybe we'll go into finishing the quests. We need to wrap that up, and what better time than on stream when you're forced to actually do it. Alternatively, one other big bug that I keep seeing is the raycasting for interacting with objects. So if I were to click on this guy right here, where if you think about like a raycast firing out to your cursor until it hits the ground, it's gonna have me move over to this area, like through his chest. And that's because when we're raycasting, it's like we're ordering the objects in a weird way. So like here also, it'll take us over here. I think we need to go in and, well, maybe not. Maybe it's only with NPCs. But basically with NPCs specifically, if you click on them, we want that indicator to show up on them and you have to walk to them instead of walking past them. But let's go ahead and let's give him a saw. Okay. Perfect. So let's, this is great feedback, I'd say. Let's go ahead and nix the second to solve their problem. This is a bop song. What's going on there? All right, so now since we have this first system message, we don't necessarily need to repeat it here. So let's go ahead and say the player gave that to solve their problem. Result message. Okay. So let's just format that and strip everything else out. Cool. All right, so thinking of how we want to complete quests. Right now, we have a quest database, and it's really hard to think with this music popping in my ears. Let's see. What do we want to do? What music? Katamari. Shout out to Human. Na 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 na. Alright. So, thinking of quests. We have a quest database which contains each NPC's current quest, as well as a list of, or a count of how many quests have been completed successfully versus completed failed for that NPC. We don't track the quests anywhere when like if you complete one and he generates a new one, we don't track that previous quest anywhere. We probably should. We don't necessarily need to do that right now. But this guy, let's just work through his flow, because he has an NPC brain. The brain is what handles what actions they're allowed to do, and one of those actions is generate a quest. So once we've completed this hard-coded quest for him, if his brain does not allow him to come up with new quests, he will not come up with new quests. So first things first, we need to go enable that on him so he can generate new quests. But we also need to think through the flow of how are we going to mark this quest as complete so the brain knows that, oh, he doesn't have a current quest, he can create a new one. So let's work through all that. So this guy, we completed this task. We can remove that little message. So this brain learned actions. We can now say generate new quest. So that's always enabled. But if he already has a quest, as he does when the game starts, he won't generate a new one. So that is handled through the quest database, just if he has a quest or not. So here we go through our flow of submit item for quest. We use an LLM to determine whether that item solves this quest. We get back a yes or no. We convert that into a bool so we can branch correctly, and then generate some new dialogue about it. But here, this is where we're going to start branching and say, all right, the quest is done. Let's clear it out. Let's adjust the friendship. Let's reward the player, etc. Or the item didn't solve the quest, so we'll do some other stuff. I actually have this flow over here, coincidentally. So this is basically the flow we're working in right now. The player submits an item. We collect a bunch of context that we pass off to an LLM so we can determine whether the item solves the quest, which is this prompt here. If it does, so if generated yes or no, is that still a string? It is. How do we want to? Okay, we just convert it up there. If expected success, so quest is completed or not. So that's these two branches here. If the quest is completed, we want to do complete quest, to do increase friendship, to do reward player, and these are probably duplicated with some of these to-dos down here. I'm just mapping this stuff directly. To do summarize quest and log it somewhere. I was talking about how we don't store a log of previous quests. This is where we'll do that. And then to do clear quest, so the NPC can generate another. So that's what we're going to do if the player solved the quest successfully. if they didn't solve the quest successfully, we are going to add a player and NPC memory of the attempt. We're going to determine whether the attempt was, what's the word for, like, actually meant to help. Was good-natured, intentionally, was whether the player actually meant to help. And then based on that, we're going to adjust friendship score accordingly. But we're going to leave the quest open so the player can keep attempting new items. And we'll skip off on these green nodes or hand wavy nodes in these flowcharts. Of just like, we'll implement those later. Alright, so let's move some of these to-dos in as well. So here we want to play success sound effects, to do play success UI animation. To do play failure sound effects. So reward player will be gold and inventory items. Tally up the stats. That's going to be part of completing the quest. And adjust friendship score is fine. And then finally generate the NPC's response to the player's submission. Sure. Re-enable the gifts with the NPC. That lets you drag new items in again, just so you're not dragging more items in while he's thinking and stuff. Cool. So we can work within this. So let's see here. Let's just start, I suppose. We actually probably, just for like race condition reasons, let's complete the quest at the end. We'll say mark this quest completed. Yay. Complete quest for shown persona. Second param is whether they were successful or not. Yes. And then that. Let's actually rename this to end quest. Because if here they're failing at the solution, we want to keep the quest open most of the time to let them give new items. But there will be some quests where like you either get one shot or like you wait enough time and the quest ends. That's when we would want to like end the quest with a proper failure versus like a individual failure on the item. So does this clear the quest? It does. Okay, so we know that clear it so that NPC can generate another. So that's done. Let's hold off on summarizing for now because I don't want to get into writing more prompts and stuff on stream today. But what we'll end up doing is basically pass all that context into a prompt. We'll summarize it. When we get a response back, we will just store it in like a dictionary of persona to list of quests or something. We are very close to the point where we probably want to have like a quest object, since quests right now are effectively just a string that we are passing around. So we might end up making that if it makes things easier, but let's go ahead and see if we can avoid that for as long as we can. So we can increase the friendship, I believe. It's been literally months since I last worked in the friendships. But we'll see. What's that song? We are playing the Katamari Damacy soundtrack in honor of your stream yesterday when somebody got really offended at you playing, I believe it was the Na 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 song. But we are in for a treat. And it will probably all be very Japanese. Oh, but you know what I will throw in? Because I run this stream and I can. Is this... I don't think that's it. Joaquin Pastor, Brolin? I think it's Brolin. Let's just add that in real fast. I think that's the song I'm thinking of. And it's going to be a wild departure from this wild Damacy music, but YOLO. We do what we want. Alright, so friendship with the player. How do we even store that? I think it's on the persona. Oof, not print. Print? Persona. No. Friendship. User commented out. I wonder if we never ported over friendships from the 2D version of Elixir. Because that might be fun to implement from scratch. Could also be in the NPC database. Nope. Could it live here though? Probably. If we build a small data structure of like friendships, we could do a lookup table dictionary of persona to friendship. It's just a little bit weird because we want it to be like a tuple of both directions, like, or do we? If we have Alice and Bob as two NPCs and they have a friendship score of 50, is that what we want? Or do we want like Alice's perception of Bob is 50 and Bob's perception of Alice is only 10? Like, I feel like the latter is more interesting and complex, but it might be too complex and more opaque for the player to just understand. Because most of the time the player is just gonna, like, we can pretend Alice is the player here. We say the player's friendship with Bob is 50. Would it be weird if the player's friendship score with Bob is 50, but Bob really hates the player? I think that'd be weird. I think we probably just want to leave it omnidirectional. And then that'll also apply, like, we want these NPCs to be able to talk to each other. So they're going to have friendship scores among themselves anyway. And I think that's also fine. Like, they can share the same friendship score. Might be too complex to make it two-way. All right, let's see if this is the right song. Not sure that it is. Ah, Joaquin Pastor. I guessed wrong. All right, don't worry about that song. All right, here we go. All right, so in our NPC database, let's just build this real fast. So we've got a public dictionary of persona. We could even do public list of tuples. We want to make it a little bit easier to search though. But let's just start scaffolding it up, I guess. So at the very lowest level, we have a public class friendship, which is basically a tuple of persona. So Sure. This allows us to make a friendship of Bob Alice, which is also equal to a friendship of Alice to Bob, since it's a tuple. And then the class can hold a public int friendship score. Let's say friendliness score. We can also do some other fun stuff with this class, like store a list of previous conversations between them, or like events that happen between them, and use that as context. But this is fine. So we would end up making one of these for every NPC, where it'd be player and that NPC. We'll skip over doing the mesh of NPCs for now. We'll just do this with just the player. But also, this is not the song I was thinking of either, but oh well. The thing with this is we could do a list of these friendships then, but in order to get the friendship between two characters, like player and Bob, we would need to do a search over list, which is like worst case O of n, which might get large with like the really big mesh of NPCs we'll have, but it's probably fine. Alternatively, we could do just like a dictionary lookup and make it super fast, but we can also build that in later. So this is fine. Let's make this system.serializable so we can see it in an editor, and we'll initialize a friendliness score. We probably want to define a range that makes sense to LLMs. So we're going to do a range of -10 to 10, I suppose. Oh, right. This doesn't inherit from mono behavior stuff. All right. So we'll just say -10 to 10. And the reason we're not doing like a 0 to 100 is because it becomes ambiguous when you pass that in to an LLM. If you say like their friendliness score is 0, it's not always clear without more context of like, oh, do they not know each other? Do they hate each other if it's 0? Do you like start at 50 as the baseline and then like you're like, oh, they have 50 friendliness score already out of 100, so they must like each other somewhat. I think -10 to 10 makes it a lot more obvious that -10 is negative, 10 is positive, and you can start at 0 as like a baseline with no context. So it's almost like we need to, let's do a little hackaroo friendship database, which will probably end up moving to another file. Let's just do it now. We can do that. This is going to get too big. So let's make a new database here. Friendship database. Friendship will become a lot more important outside of this early demo database, because we want a lot of the game loop to be around solving these quests with NPCs, and in that we need to give meaningful rewards to the player. There's a lot of different types of players, so you give gold, you give items, but we also want to like allow the players to build these sorts of friendships, and it factors into the conversation in a way that we can like pass the friendship score through with dialogue generation and stuff. So friendlier people are nicer to you, and less friendly people are a little bit more curt. But we can also do some fun like unlocks and rewards based on, oh, you've reached this friendship level. Now you get like a little cutscene or some background information, or like more of a reward or something when you reach good friends or something like that. So it's just another avenue for rewarding players for solving quests. Alright, so let's take all this out. Let's bring it over to our friendship database. And that's going to be a singleton. So we'll have a friendship. And then here we've got our private list of friendship. List cannot be used with type arguments. I'm pretty darn sure that list can't be used without type arguments. Oh, friendship can't. Persona. Suspicious. Let's see here. How do we want to do this? List friendships. That's exactly what I had. Let's see. Let's start some methods, I suppose. So we'll have public void add friendship. Why is this? I know. Oh, okay. We just hadn't included. Okay, the right stuff. All right, so we don't necessarily need this quite yet. Let's say initialize friendship. That'll set friendliness score to 0 by default. So we can call this, for example, when the player first talks to each NPC, it'll give them a friendship score. Sure. We can also say public void adjust friendship score between two personas. So here's our search through the list, which is not necessarily what we want. So let's go ahead and do a private friendship, find friendship between persona Alice and persona Bob. So that's going to be this for each loop, and it'll just return the friendship. So now we can rewrite this to say friendship. But will that return a reference or not? I think it will. So that'll be fine. So now, for example, in our flow for when we solve a quest, we can have some sort of like how much it increases the friendship. We can say friendship database dot instance dot adjust friendship score between shown persona and the player persona increased by 1. And I guess we probably need to make our player persona now. Because we do not have one. And I think it would make sense to add one just so we can treat a player like any other NPC in the game instead of doing some custom logic just for players. So that's fun. Unity's been building for 2.5 minutes. Okay, we'll keep working on this for now. Player database. Let's go ahead and throw in a reference to a public persona, player persona. We'll build that in a minute. But now we've got a player persona that we can use for adjusting friendship scores, tracking friendship scores between that NPC and this NPC. Let's go ahead and say float friendship score added on completed quest is 1. Guess we can bring that up further. Or probably needs to live somewhere else, to be honest. Like, quest database or something. But for now, we'll just keep it nice and simple. So I think that works. Or at least that should work. I don't know why Unity is struggling. But oh, we hit a breakpoint while not even playing, I guess. Huh. Alright, so we are not showing this friendship score in the UI anywhere. However, we do have a place to do so. So we can hook that up in a second, I guess. You can do it, Unity. I believe in you. Nope. Unity could not do it. We will reopen that. Brief intermission. Alright, let's try this again. So, first off, we need to create our player persona. Systems. Player. Just throw a persona in here, I suppose. We've got our Chroma Golem persona. Player persona. It doesn't even need much, but we'll just call it player for now. We'll let the player name their characters and stuff later, so this is probably where we'll store that. Let's say alchemist. Don't really need much, but I wonder where we're storing the player's gold right now and the player's inventory. Suspicious. Maybe we are already doing something like this. Generic interactable player. I don't remember writing this. Oh, okay, that explains why. Alright, we don't necessarily need that, I suppose. However, we do show the gold. Where are we storing the player's gold? It's probably in the player database, to be honest. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we can move that to the persona, which should be pretty easy actually, but let's make this player persona reference set. Let's go ahead and comment this out, and then we'll get some arrows of all the places we use that gold, and we will say persona.gold. Which is called gold count, I suppose. So we're basically just taking this gold variable off of the player database and putting it on the persona like we have it on for all the NPCs. We're trying to kind of standardize this interface to treat the player as just another NPC, but that can be controlled by a human. And that allows us to do a lot of the cool stuff of like, the player can use consumables and talk to NPCs, but so can NPCs, so they can use consumables on themselves, they can talk to each other, and so on. So let's go through the rest of these real fast. Here, same thing. And here, same thing. We're just updating on the player persona. I wonder where I could get some cheaper viewers. I couldn't tell you, but you certainly can't find out here in this channel. This is a bop song. Is this Katamari Damacy still? What are we listening to? Don't know why this is playing. Spotify is an enigma to me, but it's a good song. So I'm digging it. All right. And then we can also probably move the player inventory onto the persona as well. So we have player inventory here, which is how we treat the NPCs as well. This bot doesn't even have a regular bot name. I didn't even... Oh, Deprived Private. What a name. I didn't even see the name. I just saw the message and instantly banned. Alright, let's do the same process here. We have an inventory here. It might be a little bit more involved. I wonder... It's probably fine, because we want to move all this stuff onto the persona like NPCs have. So let's say player persona dot inventory initialize default slots. This might get a little bit more funky, but let's see if we can do this. And we'll add that to our crafting source inventories, which is just like a list of multiple inventories that we can craft from. All of this, let's just quickly, what's the multiple cursors? Yeah. Always feel like such a wizard anytime I can edit code with multiple cursors. Watch this magic. Player persona wizardry. Alright, so I think that's not all the errors. We probably have a lot of references to the inventory. Right. Target inventory. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Yeah, there's probably a better way I could have updated this, but we are just leaning into it now and we will update all of these. Yeah, like anywhere that we add stuff to the player's inventory is now going onto the inventory of the player's persona instead of on the player database. But I hope it works. Prayer window, another way that they can pray for new items, which is an interesting system. You write a little prayer of like, please bless this axe with the ability to do this. And the LLM will generate new affixes for it. If you're a good boy. $14 more to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven. 8, 9. 10, 11. 12, 13, and the smart thing to have done here would be to have checked in all of my changes before making all these one-off changes everywhere, so that if this doesn't work, I could revert everything I just did a lot easier. But we are YOLOing today, so I hope this works. We're going to go in and test it. Hopefully we still have a bunch of stuff in our inventory. Hopefully when we like drag stuff around in our inventory, it still works. Hopefully when we harvest objects, it still works. We'll find out. mean, no errors right off the bat, so that's promising. Let's harvest some tall grass. We have items, we can drag them around. Cool, cool, cool. Will we get a new item here? We will. Perfect. Everything works perfectly. I don't know why I worried. He normally has a system message before his first message, but oh well. We give him a shovel. He's thinking. We gave him a shovel. Does not solve the problem. Oh, wait. Oh, okay, okay. So he didn't have the system message because he generated a new quest, which overwrote his hard-coded quest and also the previous messages that he would have sent us. So we've got a bug there to fix, but all the stuff that we set up for friendships seems like it's working. Let's fix this bug and then we'll get back to logging friendships, since that'll be a nice segue into finishing quests anyway. So what we want to do is look at this guy, generic interactable NPC. We want to find out where this default first quest message is used. I think it's in his brain, NPC brain. Yes, when we initialize, we set quest 4. Okay, which should give him a quest. However, I'm curious why he generated a new one. I bet we need some better guardrails over when he can actually generate a quest in his learned actions. Sure seems like if we delete this and then he has a quest, it gets cleared out, and then he doesn't have a quest. When he decides on an action to do, he won't be generating a quest, he won't have a queue generation task, and he doesn't have a current quest, so we'll inject this as a valid action. So we don't actually need to add it to him. So let's go solve his quest now and see if he generates a new one. Because what changed, I mean, it wasn't doing this before, but now we are actually marking a quest complete. So it should be cleared and he should potentially generate a new quest now. So here we now end quest, which should clear the quest and free him up to generate a new one. So now if we talk to this fella, he has the quest that we gave him. We give him a fishing rod, which is an interesting way to open a gate. It solved the problem. We see the gate opening, which is cool. And then we close this. We have quest completed. Cool, cool, cool. So will he generate a new quest if we wait for a minute? We don't have a quest indicator on him, so we don't have a little exclamation mark to know when he's done. But I would assume by now, if we talk to him again, seems like he could have a quest, but maybe not. Let's get a little indicator. Let's get the debug message. We'll go steal all that from the druid in the forest so we can get a little bit more insight into his brain. That's going to be this guy. Earthbender Tarn. we need that and that. So action debug, actions in queue debug, memories count, quest marker somewhere. Maybe it's on him. Quest marker. Alright, so we should get a little bit more insight into what the heck he's doing. I mean, I don't think it worked, so it doesn't make sense to necessarily just go right back in and test it again, but maybe. Maybe one thing that we can do just for a little bit of fun is on this script, when the gate opens and this guy no longer has a problem, we can also say, we don't have a reference to his brain. I was going to enable some more actions like walking around randomly and stuff, but not the quick little bonus I thought it would be. Yeah, let's just see what his brain is thinking. Which is a crazy thing to say while coding. How to fix detached head. I mean, get checkout head. So he doesn't have the debug stuff on, question mark. Let's make sure that oh, right, we need to reset those positions. They're probably over by Tarn still. This too, actually. Yeah. Okay, so he hasn't done anything yet, which is why the action is still a default message. Memories, also nothing. So he's not doing anything at all, which is what we'd expect because he doesn't have any actions enabled in his brain. However, if we talk to him and solve a quest, oh boy, that's laggy, then the quest will get completed and we should then see when the gate is fully open, surely he'll do something. So the conditions we check are currently generating quest, which is in progress action, should be nothing. Make sure we don't have anything queued up, which we don't. And quest database stock currently has quest, which I wonder if that is still true. So if we try and attach this, catch it on the next action to do, we should be able to peek in and see whether the quest database still thinks that he has a quest. Surely. Unless Unity just crashes again. Because he should be, unless something is short-circuiting this early. Do we have AI disabled for him? Use AI is enabled. Action processing is not disabled. Oh, he is deciding on an action though. Interesting. Is deciding on action. What is he deciding on? Oh. Alright, we found a bug. So when an NPC starts deciding what to do, we set is deciding on action true, so we don't like trigger a couple different things, especially with like this prompt that we run in the background. We don't want to start multiple of those back to back to back while others are still running. So we have this flag to keep him from doing all this until this is done, which gets reset when the LLM background process is done. We then set is deciding on action is false. However, what happens is we set is deciding on action to true up here, and then if there's no actions, we return early, and therefore we never reset this back to false. So here is deciding on action. Oh, is that not used here? Okay, that might not be the bug. I mean, it is a bug, but in progress action. Well, something is, oh wait, it is back up here, isn't it? So up here is where we look at is deciding on action. And so since we returned early, it's still true. He's not going to try and generate another action again. So let's stop that process. Here we have this early return. We need to reset is deciding on action to false. And then that should fix it. When that recompiles, we'll try again. I feel like Unity gets so slow when I attach Visual Studio to it. I'm not sure why, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. We're gonna leave it attached just because if it doesn't work, I want to be able to inspect this clause right here. But I think it might work. Feels like it would. Because on that first frame is where we set is deciding on action to true. And he already had a quest at that point because we hard-coded one. So he never actually tried to make a new quest after that. Even when he completed the quest, I mean. Alrighty. So is deciding on action is false. Cool, cool, cool. Currently generating quest false. Queued quest generation. Has quest is true. Cool. So this shouldn't go in. Perfect. So we have no actions. So we're going to reset that and continue on, which happens every frame now, which is what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and kill that breakpoint. Continue. So is deciding on action is still false. But since that's checking every frame now, we can go ahead and give him a tool which will complete the quest, and then on the next frame afterwards, he is now going to, his action processing disabled is on. Interesting. Okay. Oh, right. We still needed to reset these positions. but his most recent action was generating a quest. So that's nice. So theoretically, he should generate a quest now. And so if we were to talk to him again, now he has a new quest. Cool, so that works. So now, when you complete a quest, it will clear that NPC's like current quest and allow them to create a new one, which is cool. We still want to do some stuff of like different types of quests they can generate, but these will work for now. I think what we'll end up doing is probably hard coding in some easy quests for each of the NPCs in town, so the player isn't just immediately dumped a bunch of really hard quests onto. But then once they've completed a quest for each NPC, then we'll go into the generation. And at that point, it's fine if they're a little bit hard. We're going to expand all the quest generation stuff soon anyway, but this will work for the demo. Cool. So in our codex, now we should be able to talk to this guy, which, yeah, we got to adjust this a little bit. But we do also have a friendliness slider here, which is where we'll display what our friendliness score is. It may have actually... I don't think it's actually updated. Surely not. But we see that we now had 2 different conversations with them. His original quest, give me any tool. We gave him a shovel. We should probably show the system messages in these, I'm realizing. We can do that too. Oops. Yeah, this whole codex of people needs adjusted. But now we can also see the previous message about his second quest. If we were to talk to him a third time, it's a third conversation, but he will summarize the previous conversation. He still needs help with this quest. So let's go ahead and give him some growth potion, see if that helps with the quest. Probably doesn't. Did not solve. He's huge. That's crazy. But we can go into our codex now, and he should have a third conversation, or not. Interesting. All right, we'll look into that too. This whole people codex is still pretty new. There's a lot of bugs there. But what I want to do is I want to go talk to somebody else that we haven't solved a quest for and see what their friendship defaults to, just to make sure that we're not already setting that. Because now we should have 2 people here. Yeah, they've got the same friendship. This guy... Oh, are we... Wait. Oh, we probably just didn't redraw this panel after the third conversation. So there's a bug somewhere in there. But it's a very, very rough panel. But it'll eventually give you like a reference in the field, like in your notebook, of what everybody that you talk to in town said, like what they need. We'll probably highlight what items they need so we can kind of help you out in the field if there's something nearby and you don't want to miss it. But also see friendship score, and we'll probably have tabs for like what rewards you get at certain friendship scores and stuff. But that's all. That's all in progress. All right, so quest completion works, which is awesome. Let's not be bad coders and let's not be the worst coders. We'll still be bad coders by checking all this in at once, but we will say completing quests works and other stream things. 10 out of 10 commit message. I just want to make sure that we are committing a little bit along the way. So now we can go back in and get back to our friendship stuff, which don't necessarily need to be attached for, but let's go ahead and search for friendship. Where were we? I think it's NPC window manager. Is that where we want it to live? Maybe. Alright, so just friendship score. Here. Let's go ahead and do some nicer helper methods. We've got our find friendship between, which returns null if there's not already one. I want to have a find or create friendship between because I don't want to always be checking if things are null. So let's just do that real fast. Since it'll default to what we need anyway. So we want to use that instead here when we adjust, because it's just abstracting all this logic we don't want to deal with from like the NPC window manager. If we want to add +1 friendship between the player and this NPC, we don't need to be dealing with all that lower level stuff of, well, have we initialized the friendship yet? We can just do that already. So now this is always guaranteed set. We can just update that friendship score directly. And you know what, let's call it find or initialize. Cool, so that's fine. Let's go look at our scale, which is what we're going to map this onto so the player can see it. We need to make sure it's a range of -10 to 10. And then we'll need some sort of method for whenever the friendship score is adjusted, we find that slider and we update it, redraw it for the player next time they open the codex so they can see the new score. And we also have the score visible in the NPC window. It's been a really long time since I've seen this score, but we'll probably get rid of the broken down scores for now and just have the slider of -10 to 10 here as well. But let's go to our codex window. Pages, people, show person. Percent slider, I think, is what we are looking at. Yes. So this is going to be our friendship score slider. Let's say friendship score. We've got our controller, which is where we want our min to be -10, max is 10. Percents, let's call this label. This is just from some like UI asset that we have. So it's got a bunch of default stuff. So let's say 5 out of 10, but it could also be like -5 out of 10 or whatever. So 0 out of 10 is fine. Cool, and this should have a slider component. Yes, it does. Okay. And so all we need to do is update this slider's value, and then onValueChanged should redraw it in the window. But we should update this to also control the label text too. So that's slider percent controller on this guy. Let's go see what that looks like. We didn't write this. Okay, what is the text component? Label? Sure. We don't want that. We want value.toString out of 10. Or we can say out of the max value of the slider or whatever, but this works for now. Alright, so that's fine. As we update it, it'll go like -1 out of 10, -2 out of 10, 5 out of 10, etc. So we just need a reference to this slider that we can grab from like random scripts elsewhere, which not the best. Oh, also it shouldn't be interactable. Players shouldn't be able to just move the friendship score around. Let's see here. How do we want to organize this? So, for example, in our friendship database, when we adjust a friendship score, it to do adjust friendship slider in codex, and we don't actually need to adjust the friendship slider in the NPC panel because we'll redraw it whenever we open that window. So maybe we can actually do the same in this codex and just say when this page is loaded, we pull that friendship score and draw it. I think that makes a lot more sense, actually. That makes so much more sense, actually. Cool. So we'll do that. We now have a friendliness score. We need to dive into our codex window, which is a beefy boy of a script. And when we show a person show page, redraw people show page. Okay. So friendliness slider. We don't want update percent value. We want dot value. Wait, what is this? Slider percent controller. We want the slider, I think. Yeah, we want a reference to this slider. So slider. Let's go ahead and figure out where we were just looking. People show page. This dot value is equal to. So how are we going to grab this from the friendship database dot instance dot, we need a get score, and we probably want to do both a public void or public int get friendship score between two people, but also let's do a public int get player friendship score as just a helper method, because we can grab the persona player persona is equal to player database instance dot player persona, and then we can just return that just as a little helper between them. And actually, let's make this a little bit nicer. That's not nicer, actually. Cool. So now here we can say .get player friendship score with persona. Oh, I like with a lot more. And then this can be between. Cool, so this will now return the score, set it equal to that slider value. Surely that slider value will call on value changed. Let's make sure of that though. Will slider on value changed trigger from script editing value unity. I feel like there's a chance it won't because oh, okay, it will. Cool. So now friendship should be displayed correctly in the codex. We will test that, but first let's do the same thing in our NPC window where we show friendship there. That's gonna be over yonder. Wait, did we update this slider? We did not. Can't forget that reference. Controller, cool. NPC window. Let's see where we show that friendship score. It's up here. NPC information tab, maybe? What is this parented under? Window title, conversation container. It's been a while. This was like one of the very first things we did when we ported over to 3D. Talk tab, sure. Scroll view is going to be this. Player response is going to be below, right? Gift label, sure. Trade tab content is what we load stuff into. Where incarnation? If I search enemies, will it get the value? And then close the search and be here. Okay. It was under window title, sure. Oh, I mean, I guess it's on the hover. All right. So let's disable the aspect scores because we're not using those. We might use them later. It will be really cool to be able to break down like why your friendship score is a certain amount. And then the actual score can be an average of all of these. So like somebody might have a really strong bond with you but not trust you at all or something like that. So it's an interesting way to do friendships, I think. But we'll get rid of those just because we have very basic score right now. Let's go ahead and resize this. Oof. All right, let's resize this tooltip and get things anchored correctly, I guess. Glance title, anchored to the top. Bring it down a little bit. And then details list has the friendship bar. Let's pull the friendship bar out. Oh, right, it's prefab. Let's just disable the content size fitter. We can leave the horizontal layout group here, and let's just resize it in here. Kind of like the overlap there. And actually, if we anchor this guy to the top, then we can bring this in a little bit. Getting a little bit better at UI. I mean, just like knowing what to do in the Unity UI, not necessarily designing it. But it's nice to not just look at UI for hours and be like, how the heck do I do this thing that I want to be doing? Cool. So this is the slide. This is the slider we'll want to update. We could even do an on value changed on this for the text, but it might be a little bit of overkill. We can just do both in the draw. So let's go to our NPC window manager. We don't have references to a slider, I would assume. So let's go ahead and friendship stats. Let's say public slider. Score slider. Slider friendship score. And public text mesh pro UGI. GUI. Text friendship score. When we draw, we have show conversation tab, which is what this will be visible on. Just trying to figure out where we want to sit this logic in. Submit item, on-clicked response, all the like interaction stuff. Redraw conversation history. We'll just stick it in here for now. Draw the latest friendship score. The downside here is like if the friendship score changes while the conversation window is open, it's not going to redraw. But we can, let's just do a redraw friendship score method, and then we can potentially call that when we would also want to adjust the friendship score. So here we get the friendship score. That's not at all what we want. So friendship is friendship database dot friendship is equal to the database dot get friendship between, let's say, get player friendship score with the shown persona. Alright, that just gives us an int then. That's fine. That's what we're going to get out anyway. Friendship score is this. And then slider. Does this need to be a float? Friendship score. Oh, wait. Oh, it's just that. Yeah. We're good. Don't worry about it. And then the text, we are going to do a little bit of just if friendship score is less than -5, we will say slider or friendship score.text hates you enemies. Else if friendship score is greater than 5, we'll say friends, and then otherwise we'll say acquaintances. We'll segment that out a lot more later, but this will do for now. It's just a quick little at a glance thing. The other thing that we should probably do is let's take this at a glance icon and let's make it gray. And then we can set it green or red based on the friendship level. Doesn't look the greatest. Alternatively, we could store like references to the actual background green and background red, but we're going to change all this anyway, so this will do for now. So we're just going to say public image friendship icon at a glance. And this guy, when your enemies, gets color.red, when your friends gets color.green, and when your acquaintances gets color.yellow. And so the last piece, when we complete all this, is when we adjust the friendship score after completing a quest, we just need to redraw that friendship score. So down here, we adjust the friendship score, and then we can say redraw friendship score. Ta-da! Hurrah, Shazam! So for now, if we start at 0. Let's reward it with 6 if we complete a quest. Let's go in. Let's see the slider both here and in the codex start at 0. Let's complete a quest, and then let's look here to see that it updates without us needing to reopen the window. And then also when we reopen the window, it should draw correctly again. And then we'll check in the codex to make sure it also draws correctly there too. All right, let's see. So I see my wife is streaming. I didn't know she was streaming. I'm gonna sneak into her chat while we're waiting on Unity. Give her a quick little shout out here. If you haven't checked out her channel, she's doing a co-working stream right now. She's working from home. She's got some chill streams as well. So give her a shot. Alright, so codex, people. We have not met anyone. Perfect. We talked to this guy. We talked to this guy. We didn't set any of our references on the NPC window, and we are getting errors. So let's go set those real fast. NPC window, all these bad boys. We said that that was in the window title. So we want the slider. We want the glance title. Maybe. Glance text. And we want the icon. Alright, so now let's try that once more, where we actually have things working. Alright, so if we talk to this guy now, we are acquaintances. We'll fix the word wrap there. But if I were to give him a shovel, he's thinking, that icon up there is gray. Surely it'll turn green. It will not turn green. It solved the problem. Sure. Okay, it didn't redraw in the window, but if we talk to him again, okay, friendship score is still 0, I guess. Let's double check that in the codex though. Yeah, it's still 0. So adjusting didn't work, I guess. Let's go look at that logic. I feel like yeah, it's not a two-way. We just need to do a quick little friendship dot item 1 is equal to Bob. So in one direction and also in the other. So Alice and Bob, or Bob and Alice, should return the same friendship. So I'm guessing what happens there is we updated the friendship between the player and the NPC, and then we queried for the friendship between the NPC and the player when they should be the same. But let's double check that our friendship score, because the other problem could be that when we find these, we're getting back a copy and it's not actually updating the proper reference. So we can fix that too, but let's just double check. So I think we can figure that out without attaching. Let's just do it real fast. Because I think the fix will just be if it does. I mean, we can just return like the index in the list or something. instead of returning the object. All right. Acquaintances, give you a shovel. You thinking, gave him a shovel. Cool, cool, cool. Icon is now green. We are now friends. The colors are backwards on that slider, I guess. But that's positive. So if we talk to him again, it's still green. Draws correctly. If we check his stats out in the codex, we see the friendship score is now 6 out of 10 because we changed it to B plus 6. We'll change it back to B plus 1 now, but it works. We probably want to clamp it to the max so we don't go like 11 friendship next time, but that's fine. We can do that. Let's go ahead and do that real fast. So we'll have public int max friendship score and min friendship score. When we adjust it, we will clamp to the max and the min. And then I think that's all we need. But let's go back and change that 6 somewhere. Don't remember where we set that. NPC window manager here. When you complete a quest, we should only get +1 friendship score, just because the range is so low. Cool. So I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. When we get back, we will reward the player with some golden items, and then we will keep on. I'll be right back, guys. Thanks for being here. Grab some water, have some fun. Behave. All right, guys. Actually, quick little detour here. We will get back to code in a minute, but my wife is doing trivia on stream right now, and she may need some help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout her out as I just did. I guess I already did. But she's in a big tournament right now, and she might win the trivia. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure her chat is allowed to help her. So I'm gonna listen in on her stream. Y'all should as well. And we will help her out real fast, and then we'll get back to the code. But we've made some good progress. So let me do this. Pabulum. Originally a food word, pabulum is used to describe writing that is... I feel like it's... boring or sloppy. I feel like pabulum sounds a lot like pandemonium. I am in the middle of my stream right now. If anybody knows these trivia answers, head on over to Cozy Stream. She needs some help right now, so we'll be back to code in a second, but we're helping her out real fast. Also, Sarat, hey, welcome on in. It's good to see you. It's been a long while. How are you doing? Hey. We've made a lot of good progress on this game. I'll show off a bit more. We're working on a tutorial area right now after this trivia bit, but I've been pretty good. I did a bit of traveling last week. We're trying to figure out where we might want to move next year or not. And so it was a nice little vacation with a little bit of productivity with it. What's the actual question in the trivia is up here. Eat My Rice in HD is the guy running the trivia. He's got a tournament of like 30 people or something. So he's in here in chat. And this is the current trivia question. Human. Oh, you don't see all the chat. All right. Here, I'll paste it in my chat real fast, but you should be able to catch the next one. Oh, what is this? Immunitrogen. One fake letter. Oh, it's an anagram. Nitrogen. Ooh. Nitrogen leaves Vume. But with one missing letter. Emu. Nitrogen. Nitrogenum. Unlimited hints. Oh, okay. Yeah, I only guessed two. I guessed confusing, but he doesn't say what the answers were until the end of the trivia, so we'll see. That is extremely radioactive. Symbol RG and atomic 11. Nitro... I feel like it's not going to be nitrogen, maybe. Nah. We're working on it. Okay. Nitrogen. Nitrogen. Nitrogenum. I believe she has about 20 minutes in this trivia, and we joined a little bit late, so it'll be... Oh, okay, she has 13 minutes left. I see. I'm going to keep thinking on this one, but I think she's going to continue on the next question. Also, thanks for being here, guys. We're figuring it out. Party and special gatherings. One word. Oh, so QU. Oh, masquerade. Dang. Okay, so let's see here. Ronginum. So these are the letters. Okay, animals. Dang, 2 fake letters in that. Hedge. Gives B, JRIMMINU. I bet J's maybe a fake one. Hedgerimnium. We got it. Theme animals. That is a long ass animal name. Hedger. Time resume. Eggs. So it's gonna be like beaver sized. Ooh, bird is a really good answer. It's gonna be some stupid bird name. Red. Oh, hummingbird. Yeah. It's gotta be hummingbird. Oh, yep. Kieran MVP. Okay, still thinking on the science one. Chemistry. Oh, it's time, my time to shine. SC. Tragedian. The father of tragedy. Oh, right. It's going to be like us. Alrighty, man. I should go to bed. 1 a.m. Oh, get some sleep, Human. Thanks for coming in. Sorry we detoured a little bit for trivia, but we'll get some good stuff done. I'll hit you up on a demo real soon. I'm also excited to play your demo in January. I'm going to give you a little shout out too. If anybody likes game devs and game dev like streams, Human has a great stream. He is working on a cool horror game that involves trains and shredding things. So check it out. And when I'm not streaming for the next 3 weeks, you should go watch his stream instead. We're going to keep on this trivia. We got to get her to the end. I think these are the semifinals. She's knocked out a couple streamers already. So good seeing you, Human. I'll see you soon. It's probably... A-E... Eckley... That is not a hint that helps. 29, it's 9 letters. We got too many letters here. Kylus. AES. C. Kylus. Aeschylus. We'll see, we'll see. Cynosure. Hunter. Cynosure. What other word starts with cyno? Herbs and spices. Ooh, we got this one. Alright, we got like 4 minutes left, my friends. And then we'll get back to some code. Good little break. Keeps the mind awake. Gray. Green. A spice is used as a culinary ingredient. How many letters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is 8 plus 3 is 11. Okay, 1 letter's fake. Simbopogon. Silky heads, oily heads, coken grass. Granto Slim. Grano Slim. Oh, cat. Lemongrass. We did it. I'm including myself in the we. Ooh, dance and theater. I'm not gonna know this one. We're gonna get a little code in. Ballerina. Yep. Oh. Ballet. Dancing master, another form of ballet. Mm-hmm. It's probably gonna be lemongrass. Oh, I just realized I don't have my desktop audio coming through for her stream. Sorry, guys. I just assumed that you'd be able to hear her. There's only a minute and a half left, though, so it'd probably take me longer to set it up. We'll just help out with the chat, and then we'll get back to the code, chat, and code. Good thing we have music in the meantime. Fatigue. Wow. Chemistry. Munitrogen. Alright, R. Ruminative. Immunitive. GION. Genium. So that would leave what was the element? RG. Rontgenium. Rontgenium. All right, Kieran, prove me right. Missing a V or E. Oh, yeah. Riontogenium. All right, we're going to let them simmer in the chat. We're going to get into some code now. Thank you for your patience, everyone. It's a good trivia that she's been working through for a few months now, working her way through the bracket. And I believe these are the semifinals hosted by Eat My Rice in HD. So chat's allowed to help her. So we got to run over there and bring her some support. So, when we complete a quest for an NPC, we want to reward the player with some gold from that NPC and also some random items from that NPC's inventory that aren't the item we just gave them. So, how much gold should be... maybe we can just do like a random amount of gold from 1 to half as much gold as the NPC has. Something like that is easy. So we can do random.range between... wait, that's... What random is this? We want unity random, I think. Range of 1 to shown persona dot gold count divided by 2. Let's actually make this a little bit nicer on the math. We'll say max gold reward is shown persona dot gold count divided by 2. That's integer division, so it will round for us. But we need to clamp it from 0 to 1, right? Wait, no, that's not right. 1 to shown persona.gold count. So if they have 1 gold, then we give 1 gold. So it'll be 1 divided by 2, which rounds down to 0. Gets clamped from 1 to 1. So we'd give them 1. If they have 0 gold, we do 0, which clamps to 1. We probably want a minimum on that. So actually 1 then gives 0 gold as well. I think that's fine. If they only have 1 gold, they're probably not going to give it away. So this is fine math. And then we will just do a max of this. So between 1, well, I guess between min gold reward so as long as they have any gold, that can be greater than 0, then we want 1, otherwise we want 0. Cool, that math works. Oh, there's a bonus round in the chat over here. Also, she got 9 out of 10. So let's go congratulate her. And we'll keep on this, but we'll check out the trivia question when it comes in. All right, so we want to subtract this gold from the NPC's inventory, and we want to add it to the player's inventory. So that should be pretty simple. We can say shown persona.gold count is subtract the gold reward, and then we add that gold reward to the player's persona. Cool, cool, cool. So that it handles the gold. And then reward the player with a random item as thanks. So we don't have a get random item on inventories. But what do we have? We have... Maybe we should have a get random item actually. Add item, remove item, get slot data at public item, get random item in inventory. Get random item is fine. So this might work, but it's going to return null items if we have no item in that slot. So we want to filter by filter slots by ones with an item in them, then return a random item. So slots with items, sure. Otherwise we return that item. That makes sense. And we actually probably can just do let's make that a function too. It's a nice helper to have. Inventory slots with items. Return that. And let's see here. So we can do this, but we want to make sure that this is being done before we add the given item to their inventory, which I think it is. I'm not sure that we add it to the inventory up here. You know what? Maybe we could move this like drinking of the potion until they've already thought about like whether it'll solve it or not. I think that might make more sense too if you like, for example, somebody needed a potion to get larger and you hand them the potion. Does it make more sense for them to immediately drink it and then wait a minute and then say like, oh, thank you, that worked? Or should they wait a minute and drink it at the same time they say, oh, thank you, that worked? I guess it doesn't really matter either way. I feel like doesn't really matter either way. We could also technically just get all the slots and exclude the one with that item in it. We'll do that. So here we'll say gets, what's that method called? Get random item, slots with items. Random slot is equal to inventory dot slots with items dot filter dot select. What's the opposite of select? Dot exclude accept. That takes an enumerable. So can I do slot like get a random slot excluding any slots containing with our item that we gave. Item details. Dot. What do you got? Not that. Dot except. Oh, that takes in a full list. Wait, what the heck is this doing? Nah, alright, we'll just do it in more than one line. It's fine. List. Filled inventory slots. This is all just because I didn't want to move that logic down. Alright. Exclude any slots with item data is equal to item details. So we do a where on item slot is not item details, sure. And then we'd pick a random one from there. So let's just say random. Pick a random slot now. So this is the full, like what we were trying to combine into one line. But we can call this reward slot. Reward slot. And we probably want a little bit of checking here of like if slots to choose from is greater than 0, then we'll actually reward something to the player. And that's actually .count. So here, if they have an item, we will say give the player the item. We add that item and we remove it from the NPC's inventory. We don't have a clear slot of anything other than slot ID, do we? I think on the actual inventory slot itself, we have a clear slot. We can use that. So that's going to be reward slot dot clear slot. NPC's inventory slot data. Alright, alright. So here we also want to show the like UI pop-ups of item required, the same sorts of ones that we show when the player picks up an item or harvests an item, etc. So let's grab a generic interactable dropped item. Dropped item. I don't know what that prefab is called. We can just go to, let's look up add item, see what we do. We redraw the inventory. Yeah, I guess we should probably do that too. But queue item acquired pop-up. That's what we were looking for. And those items already exist in the item database. They've been discovered, so we don't need to do all that. We don't have any XP drops, so we're good to go. We just want to redraw the player's inventory so it appears in their inventory. And we want to queue that little pop-up saying you received this item. Reward slot dot item in this slot. But we gotta do that before we clear it, which we do. Okay, cool. So now, if we go to this guard at the end of Tutorial Road, Then we can give him some gold. We can give him some items, and he will now tip the player when he has a quest completed. So that'll be a nice little reward for the player. So let's go do that. All right, this guy's persona has, say, 10 gold. Maybe we even, for the max gold to give for a quest, maybe we don't make it a function of how much max gold the NPC has. We just clamp it at like 1 to 10 gold. And then if they don't have that much gold, they just give however much they have. So let's do that instead. I think that makes more sense, because then we can make this guy more rich because he's like a town guard, but he's also the first quest the player will do, and it'll be really easy, so we don't want to just give the player a ton of gold. So let's just say 1 and 10. And then we will collapse that down here, and then we just clamp that to whatever the persona has. So that's going to be max of gold reward and 0, or I guess min of gold reward and what the persona has. So if they only have 0 gold, they're going to give 0 gold. If they have a 500 gold, they're still only going to give random between 1 and 10. Cool. And that simplifies things too. Makes it a little bit more standardized. Although there could be some fun metas with like selling a ton of items to someone before you complete a quest for them, I guess, but it doesn't sound the most fun, so we don't really want to encourage players to do that. Alright, so this guy, missing inventory, that's fine. He's got 10 gold. Oh, right, we need to... Right. We can initialize his inventory from here. So starting items, let's go ahead and search a item we know we have so we can kind of look through all of the items. Let's go back to him and we'll lock the panel. And we just name all the items that we want him to start with, and he will give the player a random one. So let's just maybe give him 10 items, I guess. Combat ration. Cold resistance potion. I mean, we also want them to make sure that they kind of make sense that a guard might have. But we want them to be kind of like useful and interesting for the player to potentially have. So let's do some ointment. Stamina elixir. Sure. Strength tonic. He could give you his boots. What's the rabbit's foot do? Just very expensive. Tool belts. Backpack could be nice. Might be too nice to just have a 1 in 10 chance to get when you start the game. Feet. Oh, I would assume boots should actually be on the feet. Do we not have slot data on items? Right, we don't yet. That's fine. Let's move those boots to the feet. Head. He's probably not going to give like his equipment that he's wearing. So maybe some materials. Bandage. It's probably a useful one to have for things, especially quests. People need help. Chocolate is a fun one to get. And what else do we want to potentially let him give? Iron bar. Sure. Maybe not. A lemon. Nectar. Oil. Paper. He could give you a pine cone. A rose. Silk. Sugar. Water. Wheat. Wire. Wood. You know, these are probably fine. Zinc. What even does this? Doesn't do anything. That's fine. We'll give all these effects later. I just might have given some effects before. Special stuff. Probably not. We could have him potentially give tools. But if you just gave him a tool because he didn't have any tools, I think we probably shouldn't let him give you any tools. But weapons, again, probably shouldn't let him give you his weapon. So these are probably fine. Let's just have him give you a human skull or something. Let's see. Just looking to see if there's anything we might have missed. Painkiller. Sure, we can throw that in. And finally, focus draught. What is that? Sharpens the mind, enhances concentration, gives you intelligence, and subtracts dexterity. Sure, it's an interesting item. Alright, so let's test this. We'll check our player's gold. We will go solve the quest. We will recheck our player's gold, see that we have more, and then also check our inventory, which should have a new item. Okay, so we have 0 gold. These are the items we have. We talk to him. We give him a shovel. He gave us ointment immediately. We probably want him to think for a second, but we now have 4 gold, and we got our ointment somewhere here. So that works. If we were to give him another, it also solved his problems. Okay. All right, wait, it's the same quest. Suspicious. And also he doesn't have the tools that we've given him in his inventory, so we will fix that too. It's nice that he's only giving us 1 of each item. Let's give him another thing. Did not solve. Okay, that's fine. Does that go to his inventory? It did not. Alright, well we have rewards working. We need to figure out why the quests aren't being cleared correctly. I feel like It might be just a case of we still have it loaded in memory, and so we're giving them a new item, and it's still checking against that current quest, even though the quest database has it cleared out. We'll check that later. But now he is indeed at the new quest that he's generated. Can I create something to fix his vision? Starts to see double. So let's do like, does he have... it would be funny for him to have the item, just buy it from him and give it to him. We could pass in a list of his items in his inventory into the quest generation to make sure that he doesn't have it already. But we don't necessarily need to do that. I'm also seeing that the tools are here now. So we're probably just not redrawing the NPC's inventory once we've given him the item. Here. So redraw inventory, let's add that. Let's see. Can we make him something to help with his vision? Harvester potion. Ooh, extra eyeball. I think we had Eye of Madness even. What if we use Immortal and Pestle with Eye of Madness? A unicorn tear could also work with like an ointment. Oh. Alright, we'll add our try-catch here too for next time. Yeah, we get a couple of these JSON errors every once in a while. We need to actually be catching them and cancel the alchemy, or at least like restart it automatically. But yeah, we'll just close this, restart it. We need to make that a little nicer for the player. But let's take our Eye of Madness and a unicorn tier. Make something with that. Surely. Maybe we'll crash it again. Okay, that's perfect, perfect. So, item. We need to see serialized item. Can we see the data we got back? Why can't I inspect anything? Tears of Insight sounds reasonable. Why did we catch an exception? Requested value crafting success was not found last time. So I wonder if the serialized item has like a top level key that's trying to convert into this. Sure wish I could see the serialized item. Let's do string lol is equal to serialized item. We will continue. Next time this will be in context. But Tears of Insight. Okay, okay. That seems like it'd probably fix his vision. Let's go ahead and combine that with an ointment just to put it in a better form for him. I hate when I stare at the back gate for too long. See double. Problem afflicting us all. Alright, we broke it again. I wonder if this exception is a little too wide. We should be catching like parsing exception or something. So, oh, right. We didn't recompile, so that's not actually there. All right, well, that's fine. Ointment of Clarity. Let's give him that. It solved his quest, and he gave us some chocolate. Perfect. Alright, let's close this. It also gave us some more gold. We got the chocolate. Cool, cool, cool. Let's go ahead and recompile so we can test that again. See if we can trigger some of these exceptions here. But hey Tony, welcome on back. We are getting close to wrapping up. Let me show you what we got in this tutorial area. You can tell me what you think of it. I've got a couple breakpoints here we might jump to if we hit some errors, but let's see, what all did we even do on stream? We have quests completing now. When you solve a quest, it's actually completed. Imagine that. In like the quest database, which also frees up NPCs now to notice, hey, I don't have a quest set, and then that enables the generate quest action in their brain. So whenever they don't have a quest set, it adds it as an action that they can choose to do. We have this guy set up with a hard-coded first quest, because he's at the end of Tutorial Road, as you know, which we've painted with grass as well. He always has this quest at the start of the game. He wants any tool. You can go out, collect items, combine them, make a tool. We did it a couple times. It didn't take too long, maybe like 5 minutes. But when you give him a tool, he now rewards you with some gold, which I'm realizing is persisting through gameplays, but that's fine. He's going to give you some gold, and he's also going to give you a random item from his inventory as like a tip of like, thanks for solving my quest, have some chocolate. So we'll go ahead and give him a fishing rod. He's got a little thinking icon now. Gate opens, animated. We have some immediate feedback on you gave him the item and then it solved the problem or it didn't solve the problem. He gave us some bread in return as a thank you and is going to tell us that that worked. We also now have friendship scores working with all the NPCs. So if you solve a quest, you get +1 friendship. We don't have a way to go negative on friendship quite yet, but you'll get more friendship with him. And now that he doesn't have any quest, his quest has been completed, his next action that he chooses to do will be to create a new quest. So he now is overcome with sudden dizziness and disorientation. He needs something. Did you manage to forge that reinforced lock I mentioned? Maybe he tried to generate 2 quests. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Things are looking good. We're going to give him a unicorn tier. See what he says about that. He gives us a focus draught. Maybe we should have him give you the item after the text is done displaying. But I feel like that might be an issue for people who don't care to read and they just close this. But yeah, I mean, that's... We did a lot on quest stuff. Tutorial Road is looking good. We're moved up here just for debugging, but normally you'd start way back there. You collect all the items. There's only like 1 row in your inventory's worth of items that you can collect. And then from that, you can generally make some sort of tool. When the gate is open, you can now enter town. I think what we'll probably end up doing, tell me what you think about this, but right now all these NPCs generate their own quests off the fly. It might be nice for us to go through each NPC and give them a hard-coded first quest, because then we can make sure that they're all like relatively easy for new players and like straightforward, versus letting them all just go straight to generating quests with hashtags, I guess. And then once they complete a quest, then they can start generating their own quests. And once we get the memories of the first quest incorporated in the follow-up quests, we can probably do a little bit more guidance on like an overall plot to give them all something that hints at something bigger and then let them go from there. On Tutorial Road, having a first quest makes sense. We'll have to think about the other ones. Sure. Yeah, because these are very like generic quests, and we obviously want to make more like town-wide quests, like things that interweave, collapse eventually, which we will definitely build in to be able to work with these very generic quests. But my thinking is we can probably do some like easy beginner quests sometimes, or even have like a pool that we can randomize from or something like that, and then they can be a little bit more guided into where we want them to go. But I do think that it might be a little bit harmful to replayability, I guess, if they all have the same first quest every time. I think it makes sense definitely on the tutorial guy, but now that I think about it, maybe not for every NPC in town, just for the reason of you want new quests every time. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, you caught me right towards the end. We've fallen through the ground, a good view of the world, and things are looking good. I think I'm about to call it. I got some cleanup and stuff that I want to do off stream, and got some tech stuff to handle and get all set up. So yeah, this is a reminder to anyone watching. I'm taking a holiday break after this stream. I'm going to be away for about 3 hours. Not 3 hours, 3 weeks. I'll be back in mid-December. And yeah, we'll hopefully have some fun news to share about when our demo might be coming out. And we will be hanging out on Discord, obviously. Until then, I'm just taking a break from streaming. Still coding, still working. But I will be back for sure. And it's been real nice hanging out with you guys. So I think I will go ahead and raid the Cozy Biscuit, who is doing a co-working stream. So similar vibes. And we will see you guys on Discord. Thanks again for hanging out, everyone. Say hi to Cozy for me, and I will see you when I see you again. Have a good day. Have a good